Hi everybody, I'm in Osuna, Spain at Dehesa de la Puerta. And we're here throwing our ropes and showing everybody what we do in America, the way we work cattle. And it's interesting because, as a lot of you know, cowboys all over the world, they get their work done. But they all do things a little bit differently. If you went to Argentina, you went to Spain, you went to Italy, in America. Even in America, there are a lot of different versions of cowboys. But the thing that's common with all of them is they all get their work done. They may do things real different from the way we've learned how to do things, but they all get their cattle work done. So they asked me to come back here and show them how we rope and handle cattle and horses. And oddly enough, this tradition of Reata style roping, it started here hundreds of years ago, and oddly enough, it became like a lost language. Yet the history of what we do started right here where I'm sitting. So I've come over, and me and Reata and Gabe and Drew and Natalia are over here roping and showing them what really started here.
Well, it's our first time in Spain, so it's been a really great trip so far, and we've really enjoyed seeing all the different cultures and how things are different from where we are and how things are the same also, especially with horses and livestock.
So we drove out to Mura to see their operation where they raise all the fighting bulls, and really at both places, De La Puerta as well, and really saw their ranching operation and how they do things, and it's really quite interesting because the things that they do with their horses for fighting bulls is really the same thing we need to be able to do a job on a ranch. But the thing that I found most interesting was, you see, the bulls are basically attacking the horses, so they teach the horses how to avoid the bull, to not be gored by the bull. And yet you can take the same horse and teach him to block a cow, like when we're cutting a cow, that when the cow moves left, the horse moves as a mirror to block the cow from getting from one point to the other. So you see, the jobs for the horse are exactly opposite of each other. And I found it pretty remarkable that a horse can learn either one and adapt to that, whatever our needs are doing the job. A cutting horse over here in Spain with all these bulls, he'd live about a day, because he would jump down in front of the bull and try to block him, because that's what he's been trained to do. Well, he wouldn't survive here. Yet at the same rate, if the horse was trained to fight bulls, if we were trying to sort cattle in a gate, he wouldn't do us much good. He'd be jumping away from the cattle rather than in front of them. But the fact that a horse can learn either job is really pretty remarkable. It says quite a bit about horses.
How they raise the bulls instead of the beef to eat here. They, like all bulls.
All the effort goes into the recreation,
The hobby part of it,
for agriculture.
not the eating part of it, which the U.S. is all about the eating part of it.
So we first came here 10 years ago. Mary came over with me, and after the clinic in Italy, Drew and Natalia brought us over here to just see Spain and to meet Don Antonio. And of course, he's very famous here for all of the horse training he's done for all the bullfighting horses. So when I first saw the Spanish horses here and how they handled them, we all agreed that you could take those same horses and take them home and use them on the ranch. Wouldn't be any different, really. They were all broke enough that you could go do a job on them right away. So as we spent time here, Don Antonio suggested that we come back here and, you know, work these cattle the way we do it and rope off of these horses. And I was curious how it would be, because the horse that you see me roping on, and Drew and Reata and Gabe, none of them had ever had a rope swung on them before that day. And when we started filming, we swung a rope on them for about 10 minutes and just went to roping. And it didn't take very long for them to adapt. At first, they'd kind of be a little bit shy around their head, and then they realized we weren't going to hurt them, and we just went to work. And we could take those same horses home and go brand calves on them. It'd be no problem whatsoever.
Contigo yo estaría, contigo yo estaría, ay la persona más feliz del mundo, te quieres pa' tu había, ay la persona más feliz del mundo, te quieres pa' tu había.
So really the things that they do to prepare a horse for the work that they do here in Spain isn't so different from how we'd prepare one to use them on the ranch. So I thought that was interesting. I was interested how it was going to work, but it was no problem at all, really. So, you know, their Spanish horses are to them what our quarter horses are to us. But I'll say this, that they're very quiet horses, and they're easy to get them to change and do something different. They're really easy horses to work with. And so a little bit of that wouldn't hurt a bit if it was mixed in with our quarter horses.
That's kind of cool.
And the horsemanship and whatnot, and just how utilizing horses for the same culture. And it's cool how it's a universal thing where they can, you know, they have their way of doing it and we have our way of doing it, and it's cool to see the appreciation for both ways.
A little side note, when you watch this documentary, you'll probably be curious. A lot of you that have seen me ride, you've maybe never even seen me on a horse without my chaps on and my boots. So I did all this roping in my slippers and a borrowed rope that I'd given to Drew years ago. The only thing I had, my saddle showed up. All the rest, oh, and I was roping in clothes that I'd been wearing for about 3 days. The cattle didn't really care about the smell much, but we were having a hard time being around each other. So finally my chaps and boots showed up to shoot this today, but if you're wondering why I was roping in my slippers, now you know. And so we've had a good time, and really, as far as the cowboy thing, really it's about sharing your skills and your culture and your way of doing things. It's really not about judging how other people do things. It's really just kind of a sharing thing. So we've had the best time here doing this. I hope this documentary is something you find interesting and that you enjoyed as much as we did being here.
Reata and I run the OW Ranch in Decker, Montana, and we have lots of dogs, lots of horses, 4 kids, Paisley, Hattie, Jack, Rome. Yeah, 1,000 mother cows, 100,000 acres. We're excited to be in Spain and Italy.
Yep. Yeah, the similarities, it's cool coming here and getting to see the similarities in the lifestyle as far as when you add livestock and you add kids and family and everything together, everything's the same as far as family dynamics and cultural dynamics and, you know, how everybody operates together. And even though there is a language barrier, it's still, you kind of are speaking the same language, and as far as with the livestock and everything. And there's a strong similarity that makes it easy to fall into a program with them and have no, you know, have less of a language barrier because we have something so big in common.
Yeah, we might not understand the language, but we can understand what they're doing.
Yeah.
Oh, he's teaching his kid how to rope right now, or he's teaching his kid how to get on his horse or bridle his horse. You can already see it. You already know what they're talking about, and don't have to speak the language.
Right.
They're pretty cool.
You know, something that occurred to me is, you know, the interest in the style of horsemanship that I'm teaching. Every day I think of the words of Ray Hunt, who was my teacher, and he used to say, I'm trying to see what I can get a horse to do for me without being troubled. It doesn't mean that you're not trying to get a horse to perform at a high level and be athletic and be able to sometimes do things fast, sometimes slow, but to be able to control that and have him even be able to do things really with a lot of pressure, kind of fast, without being bothered, without being upset. And that's probably the common thread that first brought Drew and Natalia and me together as friends, is they were looking for the same thing. The horse doesn't have to be a slave. The horse needs to be your partner. And really the things that I've brought over here in the clinics, they're really a result of Tom Dorrance's life and Bill Dorrance's life and Ray Hunt's life, which would be probably 250 years worth of experience. So a lot of times I'll tell people, anything that you're seeing me do that you like, you can attribute that to Ray Hunt. And if there's anything that doesn't look too good to you, I probably came up with that on my own. But I've done the best I could to honor my teachers. When I come over here, I feel like Ray Hunt's still sitting on the fence watching all of us. And I know that through what I do here and what Drew and Natalia do when I'm not around, I feel like Ray would be real proud of everybody. In a few days, we'll move from Spain over to Italy. And gosh, I've been coming to Italy for probably 15 years, I think, doing clinics. And I've made so many friends over there. And, you know, a lot of times people ask me, well, will you come to this country and this country and this country to do clinics? And usually I'm like, no. For me, my home in Europe really is Italy. That's really the only place I want to go now. And I figure I've crossed the ocean, so I came far enough. You know, they just have to cross a little mountain chain called the Alps to get to me, but it's not that hard, it's not that far. So it's really, I feel comfortable, well, now here in Spain as well, but really in Italy because I know so many people there, and there's a lot of loyal people that have been riding with me every year for 15 years. And so now I feel an obligation to come and work with them as much as I can, because they're really devoted to this style of horsemanship. They're really interested, and it's not just a passing thing. There have been a lot of people from the States come over to Europe and do some form of this, I guess. But this has been an ongoing thing, and I guess it will be as long as I can continue to make it over here. You know, I often talk about supporting your horse when he's troubled, and a lot of people don't really understand that. And now Natalia could relate to it right away when she heard me talking about it, because it's really about when a horse is troubled or they're nervous. To support them is really to dance with the horse. And yet sometimes the dance needs to be pretty elaborate in order to bring comfort to the horse. And the entire thing for me is the dance with the horse. But sometimes I'll tell people you need to support your horse. And then they'll reach up and they'll pet him. And I'll say, that's great. You need to do lots of that. They need to get used to being touched and petted and rubbed. But I said there's more to it than that, because if that's all you had to do to support a horse was petting, I could travel all over the world doing petting clinics. I wouldn't have to bring my saddle or wouldn't have to travel around America with a truck and trailer. We could just do petting clinics, which doesn't work. It's all about the dance. And so as the rider, you lead the dance. Well, then at the same rate, if the only dance you know is the hokey pokey, like they teach little babies in school, that might not be enough to support a horse. So the skills of the rider are required for the horse to find some comfort in the world that we're making him live in. And that's all I'm thinking about. It's that the horse is a dance partner. Whether you're fighting bulls or whether you're roping bulls out in the pasture, doctoring them, it's no different. Everything should be a dance.